Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Puremix live stream. Today, we are here to wrap up the Ruby Red mixing contest with the amazing Fab Dupont. Hello, Fab. How's it going?
Fabulous.
The hand wave is fabulous. That's perfect. The Queen's wave.
I'm
Nice.
practicing for when I become royalty somewhere.
Right. Or a beauty
Voila.
pageant. Either
Or
one will
beauty
work.
pageant, which is yeah,
Mhm.
I'll do either. All right.
Yeah, also in your life
So
plans.
yes,
Awesome.
of
Okay.
course, that's what I aim to do with my
Yes.
time on this planet.
Perfect.
All right, let's talk about Ruby Red.
Yeah. Well, to start off, for those who are uninitiated or have not seen the video, who is Ruby Red?
Ruby Red is an awesome band out of Los Angeles in California, and they are it's a duet, Dan and Fern, and they make really awesome music. And I was invited by them to collaborate with them for 5 songs. And this song that's on Puremix is actually unreleased at this point because there was the usual music business collide of expectations, deliverance, timelines, and other things that I'm not privy to. But so this song was supposed to be released by the time it was on Puremix, but it's not. So you get a preview into the future of Ruby Red. We worked together on 5 songs, I think, and there's 4 that are already released, and this one, as I said, is not released yet. And this was all done in Ableton because these guys work in Ableton, and their sessions are so incredibly super glued to Ableton that there's no point exporting out of Ableton into another DAW because also it's a very iterative process. So maybe I had a bunch of mixes, and then they had other ideas based on what they heard in the mixes, and then some of it they wanted to go back to earlier versions, and that's a recipe for disaster if you start switching DAWs. So everything was done in Ableton. So I work with him kind of the same way I work with Adore.
Right.
Adore works exclusively in Ableton, and the records go from Ableton to Spotify. There's no mastering, there's no nothing. It's just we make the record, we send it out,
Fab to
and
table.
Voilà, c'est ça. And then but it's I love their production. The first time I heard their songs, I was driving around LA, and their manager has sent me like a bunch of snippets, and I thought all those snippets were great. I was like, we got to make these into songs, and we did, and now they're out, and now they're on Puremix.
Amazing. Yeah, it's great. Well, yeah, a little order for today. We're here to wrap up the mixing contest, announce some winners, and then we're going to get to a little Q&A as well. So, guys, start thinking about your questions that you might have for Fab. That can pertain anything from this mix, if you did a mix of the Ruby Red song for the contest, or questions about the video, or questions about all of those amazing synths that are in Fab's room. And I guess anything
My,
else too.
my babies.
Awesome.
All right,
Cool.
cool.
Well, for the mixing contest, we had 174, I believe, submissions for this one. So thank you, everybody, first and foremost, for participating in the mixing contest and taking your time to mix a song. That's amazing. That's
Pretty awesome.
a hell of a turnout. So, yeah, lots of effort went into it. Okay. Hold on. Somebody says to turn up my mic. I will do that. So yeah, 174 mixes, and the way that we do these is Fab, um, is if anybody can imagine this, doesn't have time to listen to 174 mixes. So uh, Fab's assistant Tom, who's amazing. You guys see him as Tom Foolery on Mixtank. Tom is
Yeah.
incredible, amazing engineer in his own right. But Tom goes through
Oh yeah.
these as he does your mixes on Mixtank and comments on them. He goes through all the mixes and he pares it down to a top 10. From that
Yep.
top 10, we send that to Fab, and then he chooses a top three of those. So,
That is correct, which I did.
yeah,
Um, Very nice. The
yeah,
the level was very high on this one. Lots of great mixes. I'm sure Tom had a really hard time going
yeah,
down to 10. So
yeah.
yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah, and we say this on every mix contest too. it's more about the act of doing the mix, the exercise that you go through with it, and then getting to see other people's feedback. You guys can leave each other comments on the mixing contest page about other people's mixes. You can check, what somebody else might have done compared to what you did, and all of that. So while we have prizes here, that's just to make it fun for everybody. But in general, we believe that the art of practice and going through the motions of this is what's valuable about it. So great job everybody for participating and submitting a mix and
Yeah, I
putting
mean,
yourself out there.
taking the time to do this already is a win.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty wild to be able to have access to those sessions, taking the time. It's a great way to brush up with a little bit of pressure. A deadline. Deadline's amazing how deadline changes things, isn't it? Deadlines are
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Things get
yes.
done.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. More
Cool.
things, more things get done.
To varying degrees of success, but they get done.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So let's go. Do you want to do honorable mentions first? Do you want to jump right into third place, or what are you feeling?
Let's jump right into third place, and then I'll be delighted to. No, let's do the honorable mentions.
Okay.
So out of the 10, everything was really good. Um, the Here are the 7 who did not make into the top 3, because in most cultures 7 plus 3 equals 10. Um, so the closest who almost made it to top 3 was Javier Pradam. And then we had, and this is in no particular order, except that Javier was like fighting for the third place.
Hmm.
And then the others were in a pool of great, but somebody had better luck this time. So Bartek Soltisiak, Aurélien Garasus, Wittenhagen Rasmus, Kirk D. Williams. Kirk D. Williams gets a special mention for being really bold with his additional production choices, which I thought were awesome. But those were awesome, but it needed another kind of balance pass to be able to make it to the top. Or maybe he was very much in love with his changes and made them very loud. I don't know. But they were great, great ideas. And then TTY Max with 2 X's and Masdom dot Azevedo. So all these were great, but they all had a highly easily identifiable thing in the way, like maybe too much 3K or a little, like I'm reading of my notes. It's like, the vocals are too thin. This is so sibilant, too bad, because the rest is great. These vocals are too bright. Vocals are too loud. Uh, the vocals are so DS that I can't understand the words. But the rest is really good. Too bad. Um, Things like that. And now for the top 3. So those guys
Awesome.
crushed it. Those guys had mixes that were above the other 170, 164
Yeah.
mixes, but not quite as bananas as the top 3. So number 3 is a name
I get to do my cheesy sound effects until the owner of the company tells me not to.
yes, no, you keep going. Um, is Supirai. With a name like that, I imagine that person's French. Boo. Uh, what my notes are, and I remember this mix well. It's a very nice overall balance. The vocals, sorry, um, it was a little great balance. It was a little sibilant in a unnatural way, and it felt. And this is the thing that I couldn't put my finger on it. It felt a little tame and compressed, even though the balance was great. So my gut is that either the limiter on the mix bus had an attack that was too fast for this particular level of energy, or maybe the mix bus compressor or something was just pushing things back a little too much. And this is like a detail. I think this would have been a very good, very valiant, totally valid, releasable mix. But yeah, this kind of like I was like, oh, why can I connect to the music as much as I want to? So that was that. But great effort. Number two, thank you. Number two was Bruno Browns, and same, really good balance, cool picture. The only reason why it didn't make it to the top, in my opinion, is that there was a little bit of a mask in the vocals in like the 300 range, and which created a little bunch up in the 2 to 300 range. But the rest was really good, classy, well done, great. And then number one,
It is.
exactly, uh, is Alex Fumagalli. And this is an interesting one because Alex actually delivered, is the only one out of these 10 who delivered his mix at -14
Mm.
LUFSI. And so what that did is that he had more transients and more impact, uh, and so it sounded great. And I level match everything. So I do a first pass. I use Decible. I read all the LUFSIs. I take notes on a text document. I write down all the offsets, and then I do a second pass where I listen to everything with the offsets. So I listen to everything at exactly the same SPL, and then I have a 1 to 5 uh, kind of scaling system. Nobody on this went below 3. 3 is like good, 4 is really good, and then 5 is the shit. And so in this particular case, um, nobody made it to 5. The top 3 had 4s, and all the other ones had 3s, which is like good mix. There was no mix where I didn't have something to say, like, oh, I wish you hadn't done that, or like, for example, for Alex's number one mix, I remember there was like a bit of edge around 3K on the vocal that was unnecessary. If if it hadn't if that didn't happen, then I would have named it 5. Then I do
Mm.
another third or fourth pass where I make absolutely sure I didn't kid myself. So I re-listen to the things in a different order, so that the order doesn't apply any kind of like bias, and then I pick. Voilà, that's the process.
Amazing.
So yeah. So I thought it was very interesting that the one that won this time, and I think it was pretty obvious to me that it was the best managed mix of these pretty good stems.
Hmm.
Um, was the one that was delivered at -14. It had the most amount of dynamic in it.
Amazing.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's related or not, but it is the one that had the most amount of dynamic. So Alex
Yeah.
is going to win. Uh, interestingly enough, a copy of Gold Clip so that he can no longer have all that dynamic into his
Right.
mixes.
Just take all
Well,
that
actually,
out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, Gold Clip's really awesome because it's actually designed for you to be able to do the clipping thing, which is a sound that we are all listening to on a daily basis if we're listening to modern music, um, and but without being Attila the Hun about it. So you can Gold Clip is probably the best organized to really know what you're doing, or learn how to do clipping across tracks, buses, or full mixes without destroying everything. And it has that code. It has 2 levels. Basically, it has 2 different processors. It has a plain clipper, and then it has the emulation of a Lavery Gold um, converter, A to D. And it's interesting. This is the way most mastering engineers, for the longest time, where they were going from the analog to the digital domain, they would a lot of them, good friends of mine, would I would go to my mastering sessions with them. I was like, "What are you doing?" And they would not use limiters. They would just slam the A to D stage of their A to D converter and use that as a limiter, basically clipping in the digital domain. And so now somebody has made a plugin of that. My friend Schwabe did that, and so it's cool. It's a good tool, and it has a very good. It has a delta, which is super crucial, so you could hear just how much of a head cutter you are, and also has a kind of like a seesaw thing where you can, if you raise the input into it, then the output lowers, so you're not kidding yourself. So all those little tools make it really special in the clipper domain. And then number two and number three are getting Orange Clip, and that is an emulation. I think I'm allowed to say it's an emulation of the Fruity Loops
Hmm.
clipper, and I haven't tried that one, so I don't know. I don't do that much clipping in my style. I do have Gold Clip sitting on my mix bus these days because I've been
Hmm.
mixing a lot of pop music that has to get loud, but also like to keep the bottom happening, and also those records I put against in the world other records that have that kind of like really glossy bottom, and the easiest way to do that is to use a clipper, and so I use Gold Clip because of the reasons I just mentioned.
Yeah.
So voila.
Yeah. Very
So
cool.
congratulations to everyone. It's really awesome. Uh, the level is really high, which makes me happy. It means that Puremix is useful, and it's nice to have you all here. And I'm impressed with the level of control from everybody. 10 years ago, it wasn't like this, so the level's
Right.
coming up, which is great. I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I feel like we say this on all the live streams too, but it is amazing to watch the progression of people over time. Like what was
Yeah,
coming in 5 years ago, 10 years ago, all of
yeah.
that, like all up to today
It's
is
wild.
amazing.
So the,
Yeah,
the the wealth of information that's available now on PMX and also on other platforms allows everybody to grow, which I think awesome. Otherwise, I wouldn't have PMX. The
hmm,
the other thing that's I think is important to mention is that it's not because you have them that you have to smoke them. Meaning, sometimes it's fine to leave the stuff alone.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I hear a lot of unnecessary moves. Not, so it depends on what you're doing. If you're entertaining yourself and your joy in life is to add more plugins, then yeah, this is great. You can switch from Pro Tools where you limited 10 plugins per track to Ableton where you can have 200 if you want to and rock. If that's the point, then it's perfectly valid. I love that. If your point is to be the most musical and to surf the song, then maybe it's unnecessary to put your ego into the track. It's more necessary to listen to the track and have the track talk to you about what it needs more than you tell the track, yo, I just got this really awesome reverb plugin. Let me show you, you know? So I hear a lot of that, not necessarily, not always in our contest, but in general, I hear a lot of unnecessary processing in ways that are not helping the music. I love special effects as much as the next guy, but I think that there's a time and place for those things if you're trying to make music. If it's a hobby and you want to see how many plugins you can put on a track, you win. I just rock.
yeah.
Just I had to say that because there's a couple of these mixes out of the 174 mixes. There's a couple of them that I heard. I was like, oh, somebody is just having fun, which is cool. But you have to be clear about what your end goal is.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, very good. And the stems that you received on this one too, you
Yeah,
felt like
those
they
were
were in
pretty
a
cool.
pretty good
So
spot, right?
yeah, I mean, these are really good producers. They
Hmm.
make a lot of music. These are pros. And I consider myself a professional too. So overall, you get these kinds of sessions is what you get in the upper range of production. Of course, is this the cleanest session you've ever seen? No, and actually, we could not give you the fully original session because there were so many parallel buses for the same reason that I couldn't export it and go to Pro Tools.
Hmm.
There were like a lot of parallels, so we made something that felt good, that it needed work, that would be good to mix, fun to mix, but that didn't have all the you know crud on the original session because sessions that people work on over 2 years become messy no matter what. It
Hmm.
just it just does. Unless there's somebody who's they're who's obsessive compulsive and whose goal in life is to make sure that things are easy to read and easy to get back to. But these guys, their point, they don't care. These guys, they want to make a cool track.
Yeah.
So if there's like 8 bass drums, and then 4 of them are discarded, but it's still sitting in the session, they don't care. And why should they care? So it's on me as the receiver of all information and distiller of information to go take the time to do that or not. It's the same thing. Same thing happens, but this happens more in Ableton sessions than anywhere else because
Mm.
Ableton doesn't lend itself to being well organized. It's
Right.
kind of like a gateway drug to chaos, and so it's the same with a door. I get a door session. The first 2 hours of the mix is me moving things around to figure out where it's going, where it's coming from, what the routing is, what the parallels are, who goes into what, at what level, because in Ableton you don't see the level.
Right.
So you really have to kind of like eyeball it and guess it. So it's a different thing. But these stems were quite clean for a mixing contest, I'd say.
Hold on. You have a message from Ruby Red here.
What's up, guys? You don't have to clean it up. That's why I'm here. I'm your cleaning lady, brother. But these sessions are awesome, and I think this production is wonderful. And the thing that's difficult about this kinds of production is that there's not a lot of stuff going on, but nothing is missing. So it's not one of those sessions where you have 700 tracks of layers because just because somebody didn't know what they wanted.
Hmm.
They work in iterative ways, and but it's not the aim at the end is always to remove as much crap as possible so that only the essential stays, which is why so many of those mixes work great. It's because the essentials there. You just got to make it hit.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And thanks for joining Ruby Red. That's awesome. Everybody say
Yeah.
hello to them. Thanks for
Those guys are
coming
great.
on Puremix and letting us do this with your song. It's amazing.
Yes.
Awesome.
Very, very nice.
Okay, guys, we're gonna move into Q&A in a second here. Uh, so drop your questions for Fab, and then we'll get to those. Uh,
Mhm.
we do have one that I'm gonna start you with, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about what's coming to Puremix. Here it
Okay.
is.
What do I think? I'm going to translate because I speak the language a little bit. This is in French uh, for those of you who don't speak French. Que penses-tu de merging Puremix versus Luna? What do I think about merging Puremix versus Luna? So I don't know because I don't know merging Puremix very well. I know what it is. I imagine now it's part of the Sennheiser camp, right? Because Sennheiser bought merging,
Hmm.
if I
Okay.
remember well. Um, yeah, I think Sennheiser bought merging.
Hmm.
Or who makes the Anubis interface? Can you look that up?
That, yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I think
Gotcha.
it's now a Neumann thing. Anyway,
Oh yeah,
I
that's
don't
it.
know. Yeah,
Let's
I
see.
don't know. I'm sorry, HB Pro Audio French. Um, I know I can tell you I love Luna. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So
But I can't answer this
merging.
question.
Yeah, merging the interface is now the Neumann MT48U.
See, I know things. It's
Hmm.
amazing. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Uh, we
I'm sure
get
it's great software made in Switzerland. Has to be good. What's up?
when we speak quickly with Puremix, people think that we're saying Puremix sometimes. I've had
Pyramids.
that
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. People say I have an accent. It's very weird. Um, I don't know where they get that. It's so
Yeah.
odd. So yeah, these are good people. I know the Sennheiser people very well. I also know the merging people a little bit. These are very dedicated, super passionate people. It's very hard for me to imagine that their software is not great.
Hmm.
But I don't know.
Awesome. Okay. So we'll go into Q&A if you guys have questions. And
Mhm.
DeLucas asks, will we be able to listen to the top three? So you actually can listen to the top three now. Just one
Mhm.
more time, I'm going to put them on the screen for you guys here. So um, we will. Third place once again was.
Make sure you level match though.
There you
Make
go.
sure you level match. So Alex's mix is gonna be probably 5, 6, maybe 7 dB softer than Supirize's mix or Bruno Bronze's mix. I don't remember Bruno Bronze's mix off the top of my head.
Hmm.
But I know Alex is at -14 and -15, which was like I was like, whoa, what happened? And then I was like, oh, he's delivering at proper human levels. By the
He's
way,
watched some of your videos.
yeah, I delivered this mix at probably like -9 or -8. Hold on, let me tell you exactly what I delivered this mix at, just so that I
Nice.
can embarrass myself publicly. 1 second. The winner is for this mix. And by the way, the easiest way to find out the level of a final mix is to own this fantastic piece of software called Decible, which you do if you're a Puremix subscriber. Isn't that wonderful? So Ruby Red, and to drag and drop the mix into Decibel, let it do its thing in real time. Oh my God, what the hell? I delivered this mix at -8.1 LUFS. Don't tell my mother.
So unlike you.
I
Uh,
delivered it at that level because of escalation, and also because it didn't suffer from it. So why not?
yeah.
And the final name of this mix was the original name of the song was not Still Alive. It was Stranger In, and then it was production 1.1J. So that we had A, B, C, D, E, F, G to J in the production of various structures, and then Fab Mix 2.2. So that means that there was a first version of the mix, which they probably hated, and then I started over from scratch. I went to 2.0 because I never.
Mm.
It's rare for me to have more than 2 or 3 revisions of a mix. It's really, really rare. So if you see a 2 dot something, that means that I failed or the artist didn't like what I did. And instead of trying to fight this uh, current shape of the mix into something that they like, I'd go back to the source and then start over with a different headspace. And that's why it's a 2.2. So that's what I'm seeing right now. There's a 1.1. There's a 1.1 mix. Well, this is what happened. There's a 1.1 mix. There's a 1.2 mix that I didn't even print. So that's like, we hate your shit, dude. And then it's straight to 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. I was like, okay, fine. No need to fight this.
Mm.
Let's go back to the source and start over.
Yeah.
So that
Awesome.
happened. Yep.
Very good revision system too. By the way, that never fails. So easy way to
There's
keep
a
yourself
video on that
straight.
on Puremix, I believe, somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, definitely go check that out. If you search mixed versioning, I believe
Yeah.
that'll get you
Yeah,
there in
the
Puremix.
versioning system is saved me from a lot of difficult situations. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of singers or a lot of artists who, especially the further high up you go into the realm, the least they are have time to pay attention about file dates or shit like that. So you can think of the versioning system as a nickname for every mix. So you can, 2.2 is 2.2. If you choose by the date, how do you know if it's the latest? You don't. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's complicated. Also, if you put it by date, it has the unsightly side effect of telling people how long they've been working on that song. And that's really a bad idea most of the time.
Right.
Um, People get depressed.
Yeah.
So a long time ago, I was like, let's just name it. Also, it works better in the computer format because, say, you work with a French artist and then you work with a U.S. artist and then you work with a Latino artist. Maybe the Latino artist doesn't speak English and they're not interested in reading their dates in English. And if the dates is in Spanish, it's a mess.
Yeah.
So so I do dates, serial numbers. It's not very romantic, but it's really practical. It really changes the way
Yeah.
you connect with people. And the number one rule is if you have a session, the session has the name of the version. The print has the same name,
Yes.
and that's key. And now that I work directly off Dropbox with different artists, the way I do it is I keep their production number in it and I add my system after that. So, for example, with a door or with Ruby Red, the file number was like, let me see, can get back to it? No, it's gone. But whatever. Let's say Still Alive. I had to. I tend to force the artists I work with to adopt a number, otherwise it's just the same over and over again. So Still Alive production 1.1J, right? And I start mixing it. I will keep it Still Alive production 1.1J, Fab Mix 1.0. That says that 6 months from now, and we look at the 2.2 mix, they know that that mix is based of the session that was 1.1J.
Right.
If I remove their nomenclature and put mine instead, then what version did you mix this from? I don't recognize this bass sound, or something's missing. I'm like, dude, this is from this session that you sent me with your name on it, with this thing. Open that session, and if something's missing in that session, it's on you, not on
Mm-hmm.
moi. And that has been very useful because
Yeah.
today the level of revisions is so insane that the idea of keeping track of it is basically impossible. Not if you make a lot of records. I do a song a day, sometimes 2 songs a day. Do I remember what I did between 1.1 and 1.2 last week on Monday on that song? No. But can I easily go back? Yes. So
Yeah.
it's good system. And if it's somebody else's session that comes to me and there's like 3 different versions of the song on their side, I want to know which version I mixed because that also will not remember.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
system. I strongly recommend it.
Yeah. I personally prefer final, 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 no really final, but yours is
Hmm.
pretty good. Yeah.
My favorite is final, 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 final dash two, and then final, final, final dash two. Fuck this shit. That's I've seen this, and I
Perfect.
love that. I was like, okay, I see that we are reaching a point where we may be able to put this one to bed. You
Right.
know? Yeah. And then final, final, final dash two. Fuck this shit dash three. Then you know,
Mm.
oh, you're in for another few months of revisions. I
Right.
just this morning, the first thing I did this morning, true story. I sent a very, 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 very famous artist who I work with at his request the original files from a piano EP that we've been working on since 2016
Wow.
that I have worked on in waves because I have the whole historic thing. There's probably 20 versions of it. And the last version was from spring 2024 and was approved and finished and done and delivered. Good to go. And this Friday evening, I got a request from this amazing artist whom I love dearly to send him the 2016 files just to check to make sure we're as good as we can be. And this is just a solo piano thing.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep. So I love my system.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody get yourself a fab because they'll still have your files in 10 years.
I have every single piece of music that I've ever worked on back to the mid 2000s.
That's insane. Yeah.
Everything available pretty much. If it's back to 2010, I can have it instantly, like on the spot. And between 2000 and then pre 2010, I have to climb on a ladder and get one of the 3 drives. There are a main and 2 backups.
Mm. Yeah.
But that 2016 request, it took me, you know, it was there instantly, and then I was able. It took me maybe 30 minutes to make sure everything was cool, everything was clean, listen to everything, reorganize a new delivery folder, and send it out.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
People are so grateful when you can do that too. So definitely, there's also videos on Puremix about that.
Yep.
Backup strategies with Fab and Andrew
Yep.
Sheps talking about that.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So let's jump into a couple questions here. Um,
Yeah.
I like this one from Pecan Records here.
It's
So
so
it's so
difficult to mix a
yeah.
song. Oh, it's so difficult to mix a song that is not
Uh,
what you're listening
yeah.
to. Yeah. How do you mix songs that are not your genre? That's a good question. Well, first, I'm a bit of an outlier, as I don't really have, as you maybe you know or don't know, I tend to mix a wide range of stuff, right? So maybe sometimes I will mix, jazz stuff, and then like a super hyper pop in your face distorted stuff, and then I would mix like a rock, like a heavier rock thing. I like to mix all sorts of different things, and I listen to all sorts of different things. So there's not really that much music that I'm not familiar with how other people make it sound. The other thing is, maybe the value in you making that music is for you to not make it sound exactly like what everybody else makes it sound like, which is what I try to do. And so sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But that's why we have references, right? You have the entirety of the world's music history at your fingertips on, pick your DSP of poison of choice, Apple Music or Tidal or Spotify or whatever. So it's really easy to go and reference. And there is no genre specific mixing, meaning like there's no particular techniques that are special for hip hop or special for heavy metal. If you think, as we try to teach as much as possible on Puremix and now also on campus, you should go check out um, the campus.puremix.com. Um, what we teach is the principles of manipulating sound. So we're not going to show you, oh, this is how you EQ an 808. That makes no sense. I mean, because if you do that, then you only learn this one case scenario. But if we tell you this is how you manage the bottom, this is what happens when, bottom heavy tracks do this and this and that. This is a way to think about it. Then, if you're a rock mixer and then you have a song with an 808 in it, or if somebody asks you to mix a hip hop song, then you can go listen to two or three references on Spotify and go, oh, that's what they're doing. That's because you know the principles behind what they're doing, as opposed to just learn the settings for the 808, the perfect 808 settings, which by the way don't exist. So the idea is to not get intimidated by the fact that you haven't done that particular combination of instruments in this particular niche way, but you know how to handle vocals, and you know how to handle bass, and you know how to handle drums. And then if you want to do something that's in the thread of how everybody else does it, you listen to a few references, and then you keep referencing when you're mixing, and then poof, you're there. If you decide that you're going to apply your agnostic sense to that particular track and try and do something new, then skip the references, just go do your thing. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense.
Definitely
um,
makes sense.
I am allergic to this guy's a hip hop mixer. I'm like, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, first, that is the kiss of death, because that means you do the same stuff all day, every day. What
Yeah.
a nightmare. And then second, I guarantee you that that person, that hip hop mixer dude, would love to do something else from time to time. Besides the business part, where it's nice to have, if you think of it as a business, having a steady return business could be cool. But me, I refuse to do that. It would kill me. I
Hmm.
cannot do the same thing every day. Otherwise, you get so boring. And
Yeah.
then, so you need a challenge. And for me, the challenge is to rediscover something new, or try and transcend a style by making sure that the client's happy, because the client wants it to sound like other stuff most of the time, but try and show them something cool and try and give them an edge in there. in their music, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great answer. Kind of
Nobody
in
made
that,
nobody sorry, nobody ever made a difference by being the same. Let's just say that.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Um, Somewhat in the same thought process. Spence asked, "Does Fab have a reference playlist that he listens to before mixing?"
Before mixing, no. Because I have a pretty nice environment. Uh, because what would be the reference? The reference would be to make sure that first you're not going deaf since yesterday, or that that your speaker system's not broken, I guess, or that somebody didn't, and I'm going to use a technical term, fuck with it while you were not watching. Which here at Flux does happen, because this room is kind of a reference room now. Everybody wants to go in it because it sounds great and it's pretty. So we have like big pop stars coming here, and they like to play with the EQ on the key system and stuff, and that drives me insane. So sometimes, so I don't do it. I should, I guess, but I don't really have that kind of time. What I use my reference playlist for is when I travel. So I was just in Seattle to mix the single for Raul Alejandro, and I'm pre-mixed it here, and then we needed to be in the room for like the last details, and so I flew to Seattle, and I show up in the studio, and the first thing I did is play my refs and tweak the sound system so that it sounds better or closer to what I need, so that I know that what I hear is what I get, so that if we make a decision there, then we don't have to regret the decision in the morning when I come back to this place or when it's out in the world. So I use my reference playlist for that. Or if I get off a plane and I've been on an older plane that has super high pressure, not the new 727s that have lower pressure, but like the older planes have super high pressure, and you come out of there, you can't hear bass. I mean, I can't. I'm very sensitive to that. So if I'm on a 380 going to France or going to South America somewhere, I get off the plane. If I go into the studio right away, I hear nothing below 60 hertz. So I know it takes about a day for my ears to come back. So I will listen to my playlist um, to make sure that my ears are back. It doesn't matter how many earplugs you put in on the plane; it's the pressure. Um, I've tried everything.
Right.
Um, so, but then again, if I'm going to travel, I'm going to land into a place I don't know. I'll play that playlist so that to know where I stand. But otherwise, when I'm sitting in my natural habitat with my speakers in my spot, I'm not going to. I don't need to realign my ears. That's a great privilege of doing this every day. Is I know where I stand. I only
Awesome.
play when I have a doubt.
So yeah, for new spaces. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Spence also asked, it'd be great to have a listening clinic video with examples, maybe. And I think he's in regards to like judging the mixes or going through the mixes. Just an interesting thought that he had that I thought I'd put on the screen.
I guess. I mean, it basically is. I described the process before. Listening to the song, look at the level, write the level down, listen to the song again, and then um, I guess it could be interesting to listen to. It's like basically a mixed critique thing,
Hmm.
like where we do mixed tank takeovers.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We could do that.
Yeah.
Um, it's really hard for a lot of people to get honest, direct feedback on their music in real time. Most people can't hang,
Hmm.
um, or their mixes. Most people get allergic to feedback except you're great. So it's difficult. We've done this and it's been good. I think it's a better thing. Also, it's something that's better done in person, where the person who you're getting feedback to is in the same room and can hear the same thing.
Mm. Yeah.
Because I would say 80% of the time the problems come from bad monitoring. If I always hear a consistent 2 to 300 hertz issue in a lot of mixes, and that's usually because they don't hear 2 to 300 because that's usually because they have the speakers wherever they can in front of the wall, and the distance from the speakers is about 4 to 5 feet, and that's the length of that frequency. And then your poof, you don't hear the fact that there's too much 2 or 300 in your mix. That you will discover when you sit here in front of the key threes in a room that's basically perfect, and you play a mix, and you go, whoa,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that exercise is better done in person.
Yeah. That room is a cheat code. That's not
It's
really a
pretty
cheat
good.
code because it took a while to get there. A lot of effort
Yeah,
into that room.
15,
Yeah.
15 years. But
Yeah.
yeah, I like it. It's nice.
It's amazing. Okay, let's see here. Our next question is from Seth Brand, and he says, I'm curious what your method is for printing stems. Do you print them individually through the mix bus at the end of the session with all the processing on or off?
I print everything with processing on. Actually, I don't do it. Grant does it, or Tom, or who, whomever is available at that moment because it takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also use Andrew Sheps's Bounce Factory, um, but sometimes clients have very particular needs for their live show, and so my basic Bounce Factory print doesn't work, and I don't have time to go fix it right now. Um, but essentially, um, I developed a system over the years where when I print my stems through the mix bus, and I put all those stems back into a mix session, a regular session, and I put the mix in there and I flip the phase, most things go away, except the randomized stuff like reverbs and some delays. More and more manufacturers are putting random stuff into plugins to make it sound more analog. And so you can't really null a mix anymore. Sometimes you print a mix in the box twice in a row, 5 minutes apart, and you print both those mixes and you flip the phase and they don't cancel out, even though
Right.
you change nothing. So that's why every print is a little bit different, and it's micro, but if you're really obsessive and you're really paying attention and you're really based on the emotion of a certain mix, that's why I say, there's always a little difference. Sometimes I work these mixes are in the box. Sometimes in Pro Tools you can do that. In other DAWs you can't, because I print to a track. If somebody wants me to change something at the very end, I will not reprint the whole song. I will just reprint that one bar,
Hmm.
so that I'm 100% sure that the the rest of the stuff that they had no problem with is untouched.
Right.
Um, so that's my printing method. Print, I print once, basically. Um, I don't print stems until the baby is crowning. I mean, I'm I have to hear the first scream to make sure that it's really we're there.
Right.
Sometimes I wait, like waiting until Spotify, waiting until the master is done to print the stems is not the guarantee that the artist is not going to change their mind, want to revision and redo the master. It's happened so
Yep.
many times, right? And
Yeah.
printing stems take a long time, and it hogs a machine, and you can't do anything else on that machine for that time, and it costs my time, or I have to hire somebody to do it. So I will print the stems when the baby is off to college, right? Not before. And
Yeah.
um, so it's always at the end of the process. Otherwise, how do you name that stuff? It's like you name the stems with your mix number, and then the mix number changes. You have a whole bunch of other stems, and then since everything touches everything, do you reprint everything or just the things that's changed in the revision? Oh, what a pain! So I wait until the last second or being screamed at, and then we print them through the mix bus, and that's been
Awesome.
working good. Yes, because I'm not. I don't rely very heavily on the mix bus for gain management or for color management. It's literally like little touches on my mix bus. If I were a mix bus heavy mixer, it wouldn't work. But because, you know, if there's 2 dBs of gain reduction on the mix bus, Sometimes there's almost nothing on the limiter. Everything is holistically pushed into that thing, but it doesn't push back very hard. So I'm able to do that. If I had 4 dBs of gain reduction on the mix bus and like 5-6 dBs on the limiter, like I see other mixers do, then you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have basically shaped my process so that I can do that. So that's a
Right.
service to my clients. They can get the record sounding exactly the same live, and I can do it
Yeah.
in one pass. Especially with Bounce Factory, I can literally press a button and it just does it.
Yeah.
And I have a B machine for that. I have
Mm-hmm.
a second computer that is an exact mirror of the machine I'm talking to you on, like bit for bit mirror with an iLok that's exactly the same. They're all copies of each other. So I can open, and that's a lot of work to maintain two machines the same.
Yeah.
So much work. Grant is coming tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to bring the B machine up to the level of the A machine because OSs are different and everything changes all the time. And there's incompatibilities and there's stuff crashing and there's problem with plugins and then, well, so he's going to spend a day tomorrow, a whole day, just looking at both machines, which means I can't use my A machine.
Right.
And then comparing both machines to make sure they're the exact same so that we can, the hard drive name is the same, everything is exactly the same. So you can open a session on either machines and they all exactly are open exactly the same with no problems. And that's really difficult. It
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't be, but it's really hard. And so that he can print stems or that the bounce factory can print stems. And I don't have to stress about the fact that one plugin is going to sound different or not reopen its settings because that
Mm-hmm.
happens a lot. You
Yeah.
open for the longest time, they fixed it now, but you would open a session that had autotune on one machine, on another machine, and then it would not. You would have to reset autotune on the B machine all the time. So several times I would print stems and I would get an angry call from the client saying, why are the background vocals a semitone sharp, sounding like a car horn? I'm like, what do you mean? And I would go, like, oh shit, I didn't check those stems.
Yeah.
So because the last thing you want to do is when you finish the record and you send 12 stems, it's 120 stems that you have to listen, 12 stems per song. It's 120 stems that you have to listen through the whole record one by one. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So quality assurance is quite difficult when you work at a level where you can't mess up. So that's why we do everything at the last minute and once.
Right. Very nice. Okay. HB Pro Audio is going to put you on the spot. Mix up
Hmm.
and decibel meter. Fab, are you still using them?
I mean, yeah.
He's got the decibel
I have
from the
Decible on my
iPad.
desktop at all times, and then I use Mixup. I have Guillaume, who's the hidden partner in Puremix, is not on camera. Told me that I have the biggest Mixup account on the planet. I have so much stuff up there that I'm actually a use case for what happens when you go over the top.
Mm.
Um, I have
Yeah.
all my music back to the first alpha pre-alpha version of Mixup is on
Yeah.
Mixup.
Yeah.
It's tens of thousands of revisions and versions and files and playlists and stuff. It's a behemoth. I use it every day.
Yeah.
There is
It's the best.
no life for me. I cannot work without Mixup. I just
Yeah.
cannot do it.
Yeah.
And I cannot work without Decibel. I just have it there. It's just on by default. It's in all my
Mm.
templates. And when I travel, I don't even touch this iPad. When I travel, I have my other iPad, which has Decibel on it, and I have a little stand that travels with me that I put my iPad on with Decibel. And if I'm feeling lazy, which happens, I have Decibel on my phone, and the same stand works. So yeah, it's all
Yeah.
designed. Those tools are have been designed for primarily for my private entertainment and then we share them with you. But I use them every day,
Yeah.
every day. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, just doing a last check for other questions here.
By the way, we
Um,
have a major upgrade to Mixup coming. That's gonna knock your socks off. No
it's
later than
exciting.
very soon, or a little bit
Yeah.
after that. Yeah, it's gonna be mind-boggling.
It's I'm a little bit biased, but I think it's one of the best pieces of gear to come out in the last 10 years for sure.
There's no other piece of software that I cannot do without.
Yeah.
And I love a lot of the software that's come out, like things like Soothe.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The a lot of the UA plugins are just so incredibly useful. But I can manage without. Um, but I can't manage without Mixup. It's a nightmare. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. Mixup saves lives.
Adrian.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
What's up,
Uh
Adrian?
Pecan Record says, "What is Mix Up? Got to look it up."
Well, if you're a Puremix subscriber, you have access to it for free, brother.
Yeah.
It is a mix collaboration system or a music collaboration system, actually.
Mhm.
That is, you can think of it as SoundCloud for us um, professionals, meaning that it sounds good. It actually makes sense. The UX makes sense for humans. And you have a collaboration system where you can have feedback in real time or not. And you have a plugin that opens in your DAW that syncs with your timeline. So instead of getting an angry email from the drummer saying that he wants to raise the snare drum, at that spot after the guy says this, with like the weirdest instructions. He just click where he wants the snare drum to be raised on his phone when he listens to the file on his phone, and say, "Here, raise snare drum here." And then when you open your session, when the timeline passes, it lights up, and you see that that's here. He wants the snare drum raised. It really is amazing. And then it does playlist. It has a vetting system. It has a leveling system, so you don't have to beat the demo. You can just put everything in mix up, click leveling, and now you can show the world just how much better your mix is than the demo. And then it has also the delivery system is awesome. You can pick which songs you deliver, and it makes an archive and sends it to your client, so your client doesn't have to figure out which version is the latest version. It's the one that has a star next to it, the one that's been approved by everybody. And also, you can decide what people do. They can listen, they can contribute comments or not, and then they can download or not. So you can make absolutely sure that nobody downloads a version they're not supposed to download until everybody's approved it. It is insane the impact it's had on my music, and also I can deliver any song to anybody on my phone from anywhere, and I
Yeah.
can listen to it before, and I can read all the comments also on the phone. It's awesome. It is the only platform that's genuinely 100% totally cross-platformed. So it's Mac, Windows, uh, Android, and it has all the plugins VST, AU, AAX on all platforms,
Mhm.
and iPads and tablets and iPhone and Android phones. It's truly 100% cross-platform.
Yeah.
Pretty badass, and all done by your Puremix people. Pretty
Yeah,
nice.
very cool. Yeah, so mixup.audio to check it out, and you just log in with your Puremix account and you can use it.
Yep, and you
It's
can
pretty
use it.
great.
It's all yours. You have a pro account.
All right. I think that we've done it.
We sure did something. All
That's right.
right. Very nice.
Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you again,
Great,
everybody,
guys.
for participating in the mixing contest. Thank you to
Yes.
Schwab Digital for sponsoring the contest and offering the prizes for all these people. Everybody, do
Thank
go
you
check
very
out those
much.
plugins. There's trials you can do and all that,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
and it's great. So we'll be back soon with the next mixing contest, and
Okay.
keep an eye on your email. There, cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.
Ciao.